Hi there. Let's compare Alibaba versus PDD Holdings. Which one is a better investment, Alibaba or PDD Holdings? And the answer, you will find it in this box. During this video, I'll open the box and you'll find the answer here. Now, to understand my answer, you have to look at both businesses. First, let's start with Alibaba. We look at the current market cap, around 321 billion, and PDD Holdings market cap around 170 billion. And the price, Alibaba $145 per share and PDD Holdings $120. Now what's important is the market cap. The price per share can be higher or low. Now, the second indicator you have to look is their revenue. Let's look for the last fiscal year, 2024 for PDD Holdings and 2025 for Alibaba. They report 1 year ahead, but their fiscal year 2025 is in fact for 2024. So you see, Alibaba revenue for 2025 fiscal year 147 billion. PDD Holdings close to half, 54 billion, right? So which one is better? Alibaba makes more money, but at the end what matters is their final profits, right? Because that will give you the value for shareholders. So now you can give a plus to Alibaba if you want. Then let's look at their earnings. Now before doing this, you also have to look at the growth rate in revenue for PDD Holdings. You can see that from 2022-23, they almost double the revenue, and once again they almost double the revenue. So high growth rate for PDD Holdings. If you look at Alibaba, the revenue was quite flat, 126 billion, 140 billion, 147 billion. Not a high growth rate, and that's why PDD Holdings, the price of PDD Holdings went up so much. Now for 2025, for the first half, we can see that the growth rate has slowed down. And Alibaba, just a small increase in the first quarter of 2026 fiscal year. Now, let's look at their earnings. Alibaba, their earnings for 2025, 17 or close to 18 billion, right? PDD Holdings, 2024, 15 billion. So this is amazing, quite amazing. I mean, if you look at the revenue, half of Alibaba, even less than that, and they're able to generate over 15 billion in earnings. And Alibaba, with over 147 billion in revenue, they were able to generate 17 billion in earnings. So now, to be fair, a plus goes to PDD Holdings. Now, if you also want to give a plus for the revenue for PDD Holdings because of this high growth rate, you can do it. It was much better than Alibaba. But now with this low growth rate, you have to think. So you can also give a plus for the past if you want. Let's be realistic, right? Let's be fair. Then let's look at their businesses. How many businesses does Alibaba have? Well, they have e-commerce, China. You already know that. International, Alibaba Cloud, and others. Here they have logistics, healthcare, pharmacy, and other software products, AMAP, for instance, and of course delivery services. And how many businesses does PDD Holdings have? Well, they have only one, e-commerce, but you can count two, e-commerce China with Pinduoduo, and e-commerce international, Temu. So from a business perspective, Alibaba gets a plus because they have more businesses, they are well diversified, and they have more advantages. They have this ecosystem and they can achieve more synergies. PDD Holdings, only e-commerce, China, and a small portion of international. By the way, most of the revenue comes from e-commerce China. Be aware of this. Now, the next question is, what do they do with these earnings? If you look at Alibaba, yes, they invested back into the business. The growth rate has improved for all of their segments. Some of them almost become profitable. And on top of that, they return money to shareholders, buybacks and dividends. So, dividends. Now, if you look at PDD Holdings, what have they done with their earnings so far? Yes, they invested more in their platform. That's a plus. But you don't see high growth rate. Continue their growth rate and their earnings have declined. And you have to wonder if they can maintain their growth rate. And then for shareholders, nothing. They have in cash $60.3 billion. So it's like they are afraid. That's quite a big amount. You have to ask yourself, what will the return be on that cash? Now, if you look at their earnings for the first half of 2025, you can see that they reported 6.3 billion, right? But be aware that 1.4 billion came from interest on their cash. Especially for the second quarter, a big part of the earnings came from interest. So their net margins, if you take into account their interest, are 20%, but without interest are only 20%. And here you have to be very careful, because if they don't invest this money wisely and the revenue doesn't grow and also their earnings, then all that cash will be burned, instead being returned to shareholders, to reward shareholders. So you have to be very careful. So here a plus goes to Alibaba. They use better their earnings. Investing back to the business, you see already the growth rate and also rewarding shareholders. Pinduoduo, slow growth rate, declining earnings, and no money for shareholders. On the contrary, they increase quite a little the number of shares. You can see here over the last 3 years. If you look at Alibaba, the number has declined. Now, you have to also ask yourself, what's their advantages? I mean, how come PDD Holdings has succeeded to make 20% profit margins or 22% and this high growth rate? Not many people know this, but behind PDD Holdings, their success is Tencent. To find out this insight, you have to read a lot of reports. Tencent offer their platform, because you know they have over 1.3 billion users on their social media, WeChat, and they offered almost free advertising. Also, they offered their payment solution and also their cloud services, plus some logistics support. And if you look at Tencent, their portfolio, PDD Holdings was a big position of Tencent. And now you have to wonder, how will their costs look in the future? Because as PDD Holdings achieve this high size, large market share, maybe Tencent want to charge more money for their services. And the cost for PDD Holdings can increase. And if that happens, also their earnings will be affected. You have to think about that, because PDD Holdings cannot survive alone. They don't have a payment network, they don't have the cloud, they don't have a logistic network. If you look at Alibaba, cloud, logistics, and other software services. And of course, they have free advertising, Taobao and Tmall. Also, PDD Holdings has accumulated a large user base, but we have to think. Be very careful with this company because Alibaba, from what I've seen, has a better business model than PDD Holdings. Yes, if their partnership with Tencent continue, that will be great. They'll continue to make more money in the future, and this company continue to grow to reward shareholders. So, in every market, in every industry, you have more players, such as Alibaba, PDD Holdings, and JD.com, and of course, other players. Look also in the US. Same thing, you have Amazon, Costco, Walmart, Target, Kroger, a lot of players, right? But the important thing for you is to know when to buy those companies and make a profit. So now, to open the box and show you the answer to the first question, which one is a better investment? Yes, you can count the pluses you have here, 1, 2, 3. And for PDD Holdings, 2 pluses. So Alibaba has 3 pluses and PDD Holdings only 2 pluses. So the answer, I hope you already know it, is Baba. Alibaba is a better investment, in my view. I may be wrong. It also depends on your estimations. But from what I see, Alibaba is a better investment. Now, if you want better company than these two, Alibaba and PDD Holdings, they can deliver you higher returns. Simply go to my profile, press join, and choose Titan Investor. And there you have access to my portfolio. You also see the price I paid for Alibaba and how I will plan with this investment, when to sell and when to buy. And that's quite important. So every time I make a transaction, I will make a new video for you. And on top of that, you'll also get an investing course, other in-depth analysis, and bonus, access to all the previous levels, Spartan and Gladiator. If you want more, you can also have an exclusive 1-hour coaching call with me. Now, some people really want to invest in PDD Holdings. And if you force me, let's say you give me $1 million, right? And you tell me, John, you are allowed to invest only in PDD Holdings and make a profit with this 1 million. So the question is, what price would I pay when I'll get in and out? And for that, I'll make a new video, and that will be available only for members. Now, to be fair for you, for Spartan members, and the price is much, much lower. So if you want to know the price I will pay if you force me to invest 1 million and only in PDD Holdings, join my membership, Spartan Investor. See you there.